So what are we expecting in the upcoming modern retrain decks for competitive players? Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that Sky Striker button so you guys don't miss out more often. So what you're seeing on your screen here is an actual mock-up of what somebody believes is going to be the Sky Striker deck itself. Now, we don't have any clear details or defining factors as to what Konami is going to consider these products to be good, but it is an interesting takeaway in the design space here of what you're seeing. And honestly, these decks are advertised to be strong right out of the box, but then it kind of begs the question of, you know, how many of these decks are we going to have to pick up to receive optimized numbers of this? Now, in terms of what you're seeing here, each deck only having one Rose, but yet having a Psychonos, I guess would make sense. You kind of have to load up Rays, and also, you know, fitting in the possibility of only one Ash, two Droll does kind of fit the motif that they had with the legendary decks, where they're going to want you to buy multiples of them to get the extra little staples that Konami's trying to throw in to this product, which once again, I don't hate the idea that Konami is trying to push this product. My concern becomes, you know, how many decks do we have to kind of pick up? Now, there is the possibility here when looking at the extra deck here, we might be seeing, so you're going to notice the spacing on the Kagaris here. They might actually pull out the inclusion of one Alt Art Kagari, two Kagaris, or they're going to slot in something and give you one Kagari of each art. I mean, that's very much a Konami thing to do. Now, the other big debate within the Sky Striker deck itself is, are we going to see the reprint of the Link Monster? You know, that Link Monster has been a very heavily discussed topic in the last couple of weeks, as players are just kind of not really sure what Konami's stance is going to be on this, right? You know, are we going to see some big defining points to this, or are you going to have to rush out and get your things? This product is advertised as playable right out of the box. So by definition, they're going to have to include some sort of amount of Link 1s, or excuse me, Link 2s within the deck so that you can be able to play. Because, I mean, that card it's too important for you to not be able to have access to. And seeing additional thrust reprints is kind of an interesting thing, too. I'm happy to see that Konami's kind of pummeling that into the ground. You're also going to notice, is that a Dominus reprint in here? Well, the way that all three of these decks are kind of working, it gives you the possibility of seeing multiple Dominuses being reprinted across all of the decks. And you'll kind of see that as we dig further into each of the decks. But I mean, this first one is going to have the Songs of the Dominators, which actually works very, very well in Sky Striker. But that means that you're going to have to pick up 3 decks if you are going to want to have multiple copies of these. And that becomes, well, a little bit of a problem, honestly. I'm not exactly too excited about the possibility of having to do that, but I guess we kind of take our takeaways with that. Also, Triple Upstart getting a reprint I don't think would be a terrible, terrible reprint. But honestly, I think this deck, if it were to look very similar to this, would be a very, very good start. Now, there is X-Saber here. Now, I don't really imagine a world where you can actually take the X-Saber deck and actually turn this into a competent deck. Because, I mean, what do you have to base it off of? Old Edison list? There's also the possibility of, you know, MX Saber Invoker has to get unbanned by the time that this product comes around, because Invoker is technically part of this archetype. Konami is going to want you to want to get your hands on this stuff. They're going to want to promote, hey, you can go get an X-Saber Invoker, which combines with the most recent Forbidden and Limited list. They're not stupid with their marketing. It's just, what do you shove in this extra deck to maximize the value? And I guess the question becomes, do we go for triple Hunley, for example? Do we start hammering down things like Urbellum, Gothams, cards like that their sole purpose is just to kind of promote things? And I mean, how much of the new cards do you get? I very much imagine Konami's going to do the same thing that they did with the Yusei product, and they're going to be like, well, if you want maximum numbers of the X-Saber cards, you're going to have to come through and you're going to have to pick up 3 of these, which is a moment. But I feel like that's fine. If the selling point of the product is you've got to pick up multiples of these in order to get access to a playset of each of the Dominuses and to get a playset of like complete X-Saber stuff, you're 100% picking this product up for the premise of the Dominuses, and the X-Saber, pile becomes a secondary thought. Also, the X-Saber deck itself is not, I think it would be pretty much geared towards adapting towards playing Genesis format. Unfortunately, I can't imagine that this X-Saber pile even for a mock-up of what you're seeing here, the fact that they're tossing triples Emmer's Blade at you in 2026 of all places is just, it doesn't work in my mind. I don't imagine that there's going to be a good way to make this deck look presentable to the player base. It's a very unfortunate thing of appetizing products, but this was the weakest of the 3, and I don't think we're really going to be too upset about that. Now, there's the state of Mitsurugi. This one is an interesting discussion, honestly, because this deck's entire dependency depends on how many Habagiris are we going to give you? How much Habagiri can the player base actually have? And is this going to be a pure Mitsurugi style of thing? And are there going to be new Mitsurugi cards getting tucked in here that haven't been released yet? Very much looking at this list, obviously, I love each of the Solemns being in here as one-ofs, pre-prep being maximized in a single impulse, while you basically are getting 2 of each of the Mitsurugi monster names as kind of a throw-in with very minimalistic other tools along the way. We're going to give you cards to play with this pile, but at the same time, you're going to get some Genesis format staples like the Ultimate Slayers, some Solemns to kind of access, while, they can access the generic extra deck stuff here like the Zombie Vampire and so forth. Also take note, all these extra decks have been 15 cards. I would not be surprised to see Konami go, here's your competitive product, and they just hand you a 10-card extra deck, and they're like, well, if you need multiples of these, you're going to have to go pick up multiples of the decks in order to get the products. It's such a BS route to things that they could do, but I don't want to see that be the case. I truly want them to stick to their wording here, and I truly want to see these products be very much flushed out. I want to see that, I can pick up one of these products and I can actually play it truly straight out of the box, but there just is not a good way. Some of the X-Saber deck kind of looks like it falls apart. The Mitsurugi deck is a little bit scraped together. And then there's the possibility of what in the world can you actually hand to, Mitsu as a core combining deck. But I do think Striker is the clearest winner of everything here. So, what do you guys think? Please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. These styles of products are quite interesting, and you guys have a good rest of your day, all right?
Patrons!
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.